La maudite déviée chaud.
I have seen the dark shadows moving in the woods, and I have no doubt that whatever I have resurrected through this book is sure to come calling for me.
David, you look absolutely terrific, honestly. You've got like glue on.
This is where the worst begins. This is where we must stop. For beyond is the work of madness.
Next level to what?
The nightmare of insane murder and lingering death.
Get inside and lock your doors. Close your windows.
Someone is watching you. Someone is waiting for you. Someone wants to scare you to death.
This is Albert from the Tuesday Show. You're listening to the goddamn Dave Hill Show, now on a flipping Monday.
Hey, we did it.
La maudite déviée chaud.
I have seen the dark shadows moving.
The show almost started over.
This show is too slick. Is our guest joining us right away?
No. We'll bring him on later. I just wanted to put him in the room.
Oh, he's already in the room. No, he's on the show. You've brought him onto the show.
You can't see or hear him though.
Chaos has found us here as well.
Oh, I don't know what's happening. My life's a mess. Anyway, hello and welcome to the Dave Hill Goodtime Hour, a show that's getting slicker with each and every coup attempt. Or something. That was a topical reference. I usually try to stay away from topical stuff like that, but I just couldn't resist. Anyway, hello. Hi, how are you? Thank you for joining us, everybody, in the futuristic live YouTube broadcast, and those of you listening later in the popular podcast form. What is that I hear in the background? Is that the soundtrack to a little movie I like to call Disco Dancer?
It is the title track, actually. Well, I Am a Disco Dancer is the full title, but
I Am a Disco Dancer.
Mm.
By the way, how are you, boy criminal, Chris Gersbeck?
I'm great. I got a new pair of glasses.
A lot of people are noticing. It was all over my blog.
Was it?
Yeah, my glasses blog. There was a big post about it. Sponsored content. How are you, New Jersey Chicken Rancher Des?
Doing pretty great, Dave. How about yourself? Chris, hello.
Very good.
Can you turn the music down a little bit? I feel like it's overpowering my sensibilities.
You can't help it. It gets to you, and then you're gonna start dancing in a minute, ain't you?
It's I was listening to the soundtrack. I hope people don't tire of hearing about Disco Dancer on this program.
There's no such thing. I mean,
because I don't anticipate shutting up about it anytime soon. I sat and listened to the soundtrack the other day, and I was just, you know what I noticed? This was yesterday. I'm realizing I listened to it as I was doing important things that I can't remember. There's a lot of songs on the soundtrack that I don't remember being in the movie.
Oh, really?
Doesn't it kind of?
What's that?
They release a lot of soundtracks where the songs don't really show up in the movie. They might just throw it on in the credits.
Remember when they used to do a thing like Godzilla would like put out like a soundtrack and it was full of songs inspired by the movie Godzilla?
That's how they get you. Inspired by.
Yeah. They don't do that anymore. They need to bring that back.
Inspired by. Inspired by.
Songs inspired by Wonder Woman 1984 or something.
This is a real treat.
Like
I love a nice soundtrack. I made Disco Dancer shirts that limited that I'm sending to both you guys.
I can't wait.
Awesome.
If anyone wants to get them, they're on mrdavehill.bigcartel.com for an extremely limited time, because I'm not looking to get in on the Disco Dancer t-shirt business.
You limit your exposure at the post office. 1-2 trips tops. That's it. Other than that,
I'm done going to the post office.
Yeah, you haven't picked up.
I'm done going indoors anywhere. Until I might go to the post office tomorrow. I'm thinking about it. This is the thing when they say there's this new strain, and I don't mean to be alarmist. They say it's more contagious, but they don't say how it's more contagious. They just say it, like, they don't say
maybe it just sticks around longer. Yeah, I don't know.
They don't be like, oh, this one you can get, if you get it on your shoes, you'll die. They don't say, well, and I've asked people that I think would know, and they don't seem to have a clear answer.
I mean, I would think you're just less likely to be able to fight it off. It's just a little stronger somehow,
No, I don't think that's it either.
It's made its adjustments. It's halftime adjustments. It's come back now. Now we have to counter. That's kind of how it all goes.
No, but I don't think it's more powerful. Like, it doesn't make you sicker.
It's not necessarily more powerful or necessarily making you more sicker. It's just once it's around, you're more likely to get caught by it as opposed to the earlier ones.
I know, but what does that mean though? Does that mean like your mask won't be as effective, or does it mean it's a takes less of a viral load for you to get it? Does it mean that you can get it through your butthole? These are my questions.
I don't think I really got to worry about that.
We have
I
some
intend
people.
to.
We have some people waiting in the Zoom room who seem like they really want to get on. Should we let a couple people in?
Sure. Why not just make things go south right out of the gate?
We have someone named Carol joining us.
An actual woman. This is progress.
We're good for a couple of weeks.
Carol H. Where is she? Why don't we see her?
I don't know.
She doesn't exist.
I made it up.
Oh well, we tried.
This is why I brought Kevin into the room earlier so that we could.
Where's the next person that doesn't exist?
Here we go.
Oh, there's Kevin.
Oh no, Kevin.
Hey,
There's Kevin. We're just bringing our guest on. This show is too slick. Welcome, Kev. Well, ditch the random person that you just let in onto the show, or put them back in the waiting room, Chris. Since Kevin, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just a pretty face, as you know.
I feel like I'm losing my mind in this general time that we're in. Anyway.
Oh yeah. Well, let me start by saying, welcome to the show. You look incredible, Kevin Allison.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that I don't look. One of the things is that these ring lights, they really do help to hide dark circles under the eyes. It is very helpful not to look like I'm as exhausted and frayed as I am.
I need to get 9 months into this Zooming and such. I still don't have a ring light.
Oh, they're so easy. I mean, this is just a little one that you attach to the desk and you can put it like right in front of your face, basically.
You look amazing.
Thank you. Now, are you still in Cleveland?
I'm outside of Cleveland in the sticks. I still am, yeah. Though I might be back in New York as soon as tomorrow, actually.
Oh.
Though I may not be. I don't know. There's talk of it. For reasons I can't get into. But I might be back as soon as actually tomorrow.
Yeah, it's
or I might not be.
It's so confusing figuring out. Oh, am I still there? Yeah. It's so confusing figuring out like when to do what. I mean, I think that this year is going to be like, when people are going to be wondering when can they do a show in a theater again. It's going to be very confusing for a while, I think.
I just read that Dr. Fauci, the only person I trust about anything, has said he thinks in the fall of 2021 shows will resume. Though even then they were saying that maybe, the audience would still be wearing masks.
Mm-hmm.
And to that I say, I'm out.
You don't want, as long as the audience is wearing masks, you're out.
No, I don't. No, I'm saying like I will perform at those shows, but I can't see really going to a show where everyone's in masks. Because when I go to a show, I like to get loose.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guzzling beers, I'm doing shots, I'm vaping, I'm doing cocaines. No, I just think I'll perform for sure. I just don't think I would go to shows. But
yeah,
I never go to shows anyway.
What's that?
I never go to shows anyway that I'm not performing in, so nothing's going to change.
Yeah, I remember I have a very nice lady who takes me to a Broadway show once a month.
Really?
And yeah. She's a wealthy friend of mine, and she's like, I would love to just take you to a Broadway show at least once a month and out to dinner and everything. So I was like, sure.
I love this. I need a friend like this.
What's that?
I need a friend like this.
Everybody.
Yeah, everyone could use one. We went to see a show on Broadway on like, I don't know, maybe it was like March 9th or something like that. It was, right before the total shutdown. And I remember looking around at how the audience was like half full at a Broadway show. A lot of the rows up front were not full, and just thinking, oh, this is so surreal already. Like what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the last live show I saw.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I probably did a show right around.
You were at the last show I was at. My wife and I saw Valley Lodge, and I think that was February of 2020.
Ooh.
At Mercury Lounge.
Oh, we had no
idea.
Where?
At Mercury Lounge.
I remember that show.
Nice.
I was at that show.
Yeah.
I was at that show. Yeah, but no, I think the last show I performed at was at Eastville, right before the shit hit the fan.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think I'll go to shows. Whatever Dr. Fauci says I'm in, even if we have to wear masks. I guess I just won't like I won't vape, and which is good because I don't vape at all anyway. I was just the vision I have of myself on the other side of this pandemic is of a guy who vapes, guy who lives life to the fullest.
There's several people in the chat right now who are like dying to get into this Zoom meeting.
How do you know?
Because I'm looking at their chat and they keep commenting, let me in. I'm curious.
What chat are you referring to?
On YouTube.
On YouTube.
They say let me in? We've tried to let two people in. It has not gone well. In that it didn't work.
Just curious why someone's so anxious to get in. Like I'm hoping we let them in and it's like something mind blowing.
Well, let's have them be patient for a moment, and we need to properly welcome Kevin to the show.
Yes. Kevin was not meant to be on for another 15 minutes, but that was my fault. Sorry.
This show is very slick, Kevin, and I as always applaud you for your patience in dealing with us on any level. You have a live online Risk show this Friday, correct?
Yeah, it's 9:30 p.m. Eastern, so it'll be a standard Risk show with 4 stories, and I'll probably share one as well. And these live streams have actually been a lot of fun. They've actually been very effective at bringing people together. We've had a lot of big laugh moments, a lot of tears. They've really worked. I mean, it's certainly different, than being live in front of an audience in a room, but I think they've meant a lot to people. They've certainly meant a lot to me. It feels kind of therapeutic to connect with people like that.
I think so. As much as I complain about Zoom and whatever is possible to complain about, I'll complain about it. I do feel a little bit lighter having Zoomed,
it's funny,
done a Zoom show.
So many people talk about Zoom fatigue, and it might be because they have 20, they have jobs that require them to be talking to people on Zoom all day long and meetings and stuff like that. But I usually am kind of thankful when, I live in this 1-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, and I'm like, oh, there's a human being I'm talking to.
Yeah. I think, it's better than the alternative of just,
staring at the wall
or staring at God.
Staring at Twitter.
Oh yes. Well, I don't have that problem of staring at Twitter.
Oh, that's right. You were removed.
having been banned for about, how long has it been? Coming up on, it'll be 2 years in May.
Really? So you're permanently banned.
Oh yeah,
he got trumped before it was.
I think, to my knowledge, I am the only left-wing person ever to have been banned. To my knowledge, I'm sure there are other. I think there are others.
Kathy Griffin got back in, right?
Who?
Kathy Griffin.
She was never banned.
You probably got like a temporary ban for the.
Temporary.
This is what people. This is that there's like they give you timeouts.
Yeah.
Anyone can get that. I'm just saying, to really get banned, you got to swing for the fences.
Weren't you just making your mom jokes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was making, your mom jokes that a fifth grader would make, and I was banned for life. They shut down I had other accounts, like my band Valley Lodge had an account. They shut that down.
Really?
I can't, that's what they do. They shut you down. But let me tell you, the only thing I could say is that maybe it would be nice to have Twitter as a promotional thing to tell people stuff like that we're doing this tonight, just as a for instance. But at the same time, I haven't really noticed a different. Really, the only thing I could gauge maybe would be like live shows and stuff. But when those were happening, it didn't seem like anything was changing. Like less people were coming out because I was banned from Twitter. I would say the opposite.
Interesting, yeah.
So I would say, obviously, no. I mean, it is good to promote, but in terms of life improvements, I would say quitting Twitter is right up there with quitting smoking, or any. No, I don't know. It's definitely like on my short list of the best things that I've done, and I didn't do it. It was done to me.
Yeah, I wish that, like some people curate Twitter, like some people will have lists of this kind of content, that kind of, or have different accounts for this kind of content, that kind of content. I wish that there was like, I could create a social media that I could check every now that would just give me like new, like soul nourishing tidbits, like fascinating and entertaining and wonderful, inspiring facts. But then I know, then I'll sign up for a bunch of those kind of things and be like I literally created one once on Twitter that was it was all just going to be like Zen and Taoism and stuff like that. And I never checked that fucking account.
But then, I think no matter what the thing is, eventually anytime you're, at least with me, anytime there's because then you start to go, well, did anyone like that? Did anyone retweet that? Did anyone this and that? Do I matter? Should I keep going in life? And not having that in Twitter form is good. Now, I also have, then it just spills over in Instagram and other things.
Yes, of course.
Just to find new ways to ruin your life.
Dave's a TikTok
I
sensation.
am one of those people. I know some people get really upset about this, but I am one of those people who will take a photo of a tweet if it's political and I feel like, holy shit, we've got to be spreading the word about this thing that's happening today, or some political point that I'm like, yes, it's crucial people understand this. I'll take a picture of it and put it on Instagram, and I know a lot of people are like, Jesus Christ, you're turning Instagram into Twitter.
You mean you take other people's tweets?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like Noam Chomsky says something and I'm like, yes, here, and then take a picture of that tweet and put it on Instagram.
I'm not opposed to that. The thing that I'm opposed to is comedians who simply screen grab their tweet and put it on Instagram because they're just like, this is really good. More people should see this. It's like, no, it's not that good.
But Kevin, do you take screenshots or do you literally just take a picture of Twitter, like on your computer?
No. I
what do you
take
think
a picture with my phone and then I carve it out so that it's the right size and all.
That's acceptable.
Do you think you're asking Kevin just now? You're asking him, like he's a 78-year-old lady if he takes a picture of his computer screen with his phone.
I mean, that seems like something Kevin might do. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. There are many ways in which I am a 78-year-old lady.
In a pinch, that's totally
all good ways that I'm anything I can from where I'm sitting. Kevin, now, as anyone, obviously your risk listeners and anyone who's heard you on this show before, or various iterations of this show of the 78 titles that's gone by in the last 6 months, knows that you're a kink meister, a fan of kink, practitioner of kink. Is there an area of life that could possibly be hit harder?
No.
During a pandemic than kink?
I'll tell you, like, this has been like a fucking identity crisis for me the past, year or so. My timing was terrible as far as relationships go, because I actually did have like 2 lovers in New York City in January, February, right? But I think I very much overestimated how intimate we were. 2 people with whom I had in amazing play, 2 people with whom I could get together and do amazing kink play with. And then once the pandemic hit, it became very, very apparent. Oh, all we have is sex. You know what I mean? Oh, now that the sex is gone, they are very much not returning my messages, et cetera, et cetera. And so that hit really fucking hard of me feeling like, okay, not only don't I have play, but I can't I mean, I like to at least be talking to people about these things. So I've been doing a lot of flirting, and that's almost it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. I was thinking of creating a podcast where I talk to other kinksters about kink, mostly to like fill a need of me not having that in my life anymore.
It seems crazy not to.
Yeah. I think, one of the things I have a problem with the ADHD and all is I'll come up with a creative idea and then I'll think, oh, but then it's gotta be this and this and this and this, and I'll start to overcomplicate it and then I won't do it. But I think with this idea, like a conversation sort of podcast, I should just start recording conversations and then gather a bunch of raw material and see, okay, could some of this be turned into, something I could put out there or not, and not worry about it being perfect while I'm making it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If we, as a test run, we could, if anyone wants to zoom in and discuss their kinks.
Yeah,
you could not be in better hands, at least with Kevin.
Absolutely.
I can't speak for Chris or James.
I'm getting nervous about how badly these people waiting in Zoom want to be on the show that we're gonna get Zoom bombed or something.
See if you can let the one on the bottom in, and we'll see how it goes.
Won't let the wrong.
We're trying.
I'm gonna have my finger on the remove.
So this is let the record show. This is the 3rd viewer we've tried to let in, and it has not worked so far.
Live.
Yeah,
I don't think it's working. What's the problem?
You go so fast.
I don't know.
There's
another one.
Well, why are you letting multiple people in? You got to kill one of these people. They must die.
Okay, now.
Not working. I say forget it. People can call. It's not working.
Yeah, they can call in.
347-474-0260. 347-474-0260. Oh, there he is. Of course, Elvira Canaveral will make his way in. What do you got for us, Elvira? You're on, as you know.
I was having a
Kevin Allison.
I was having a discussion earlier with a non-binary friend of mine from Germany.
I'm shocked.
Well, one of the terms we're coming to terms with is the definition of not being kinky enough, because while we both identify as non-binary and are physically males, we're attracted to women. So by saying that we were trans, we didn't want to confuse people who had a much harder time going on in the midst of what they were in, while trying to figure out a definition for ourselves, while not feeling kinky enough to be in the club, as if there was like a gatekeeper.
You know, I think that this is one of the things that I think is really interesting about, like, to take this, to bring it out broadly, is that, like, most kinky people, a lot of that goes back to childhood of like, oh, wait, I think I like this thing and I'm not sure if it's okay to like this thing, or, oh, I'm not sure if my sexuality or my gender or whatever it might be, like, kind of fits into the usual, like, boxes, or, and then, like, the stories that I have about visiting kink camps all have one theme in common, is that at one point during a visit to a kink camp, I will be struggling with feeling like, oh shit, I'm a freak among the freaks. In other words, oh, I don't fit here. You know what I mean? And I think that literally every one of us is so hardwired from our childhood to think, oh, I don't really belong, that we stress over it and can even bring it into the bigger kink community. And so I think that so an obsession with labels starts, and people are always trying to think of, what was the one I heard the other day? It was, oh gosh, it was people who feel male something like 90% of the time. And I was like, now hold on, does that really need a label? You know?
Every now and then I want to feel pretty. And that was one of the issues I had. I mean, because when I was in Boise, Idaho, I was identified as an honorary lesbian. Now, I'm not sure if it was because I was supportive of the gay community in a pretty harsh climate. I could just hang out with them and just be a conversation, or because a number of the lesbians slept with me and wanted to keep their lesbian status.
Yeah.
The other beauty about there's a certain openness to the kink community. I spent a lot of time in London in the early 2000s, and there were like secret back clubs, and there's Angel, but then there was an event called Torture Garden, which were these huge parties, like the world's biggest fetishist events. And not only did you have to be a member to get in, you had to get a ticket to get in. And then when you're going through, there were people at the doors deciding whether or not only if your outfit was kinky enough, but was also appropriate for the theme kinky enough.
Yeah, I really I did that. I went to an event like that in Amsterdam once, and and in New York, in gay sex parties, there would often be, I haven't been to one obviously very recently, but even in my late 40s or whatever, I haven't been to a ton. But I remember back in the day, there would be gay sex parties where you'd try to go and they'd be like, oh, you have to show your cock before entering to show us it's big enough, or you have to show us your abs to show us. And I always found that incredibly just not my bag.
Well, the nice thing about going to these Torture Garden events is no matter how twisted or perverted or kinky I was feeling that day, I would see somebody so far beyond me that's like, oh, I am suddenly, I am conservative. I am the conservative churchgoer.
Oh yeah.
In comparison to the banker who has, a tube hooked up to his own anus to a fish tank of his own urine. It's like, what the hell? But and it makes me feel, like, you know what? They have their joy. I have my joy, and I'm just joyful that my joy is not their joy, because that would make my life so much more complicated.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like having a rare fetish, especially if you're really into it, is actually very inconvenient.
Well, and as I get older, it gets more specific. Like right now, the only way I can have an orgasm is if 100 people, siege a government building.
Yeah.
Oh, the line's breaking up.
What's that?
The line's breaking up, I think.
Yeah, it tends to happen when I rock it too hard. But I just want to let you know, let your freak flag fly.
Yes, indeed. I'm convinced that there'll be people who are into nasal swab because that's painful, and painful is popular in that.
My second girlfriend
nasal sounding
would get off of swabbing her ears. It was the weirdest thing, but hey, we found it.
Yeah. A friend of mine likes to put like fire ants that bite you, or like beetles that can pinch you on his balls.
Oh wow!
And when I heard about, and there's a name for it, it's like insectophilia or something.
Yeah.
When I heard about it, I was like, oh, thank goodness. Like it is a relief when you hear about someone whose kinks are weirder than yours.
Especially if it's complicated. It's like my wife doesn't wear very much makeup, and we can just go anywhere when we need to, and it's great. It's a lot of it is finding the compatible convenience of.
Yeah, well, there's one way right there that I'm a freak among the freaks. I am not, interested in clothing, like at all.
Like wearing
it. 95% of the kink realm is what
fashion.
All do you have to wear? And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, Jesus, okay, I guess I have to really pay attention to buying a lot of very specific clothing when in fact I'm just there to take it all off.
Well, and it's one of those things you go back and you look at your wardrobe and your influences, and if you didn't necessarily have a term or knowledge of where you are now, you can kind of look back and go, oh yeah, it's kind of the Kaiser Sose cup moment. And it's like, yes, I used to have a shoe room where I had all the shoes. I used to have a suit room, but yeah. Here we are.
All right. Well, thank you, Elvira.
I appreciate you all.
All right.
Keep on.
Sorry, my finger slipped.
Damn it, Chris. Elvira Canavero. Bringing the heat as always.
Lead guy.
There was some drama going on in the chat room here.
What was the drama?
I think we were about to get Zoom bombed.
By whom?
Whoever those people were to let in, because someone's in the chat going, let me in. And I asked them, first I asked, what's the name of Dave's dog? And they didn't answer. And then I asked, what's the opening theme song artist who performs at an album that appears on in there still? They just said Cardi B, so clearly.
I would love to get Zoom bombed.
Not necessarily.
What happens?
I've heard horror stories of Zoom bombing.
What do people do when they Zoom bomb you?
Where they want.
Not very creative. Just think of the rudest thing you can think of, and that's what comes out. Yeah.
Do they show up with like bass ukuleles and things like this? every time?
Get the camera right, Elvira. I gotta say.
Do they show up with their camera sideways and play a bass ukulele?
Oh my God.
Oh man, this show.
I kid because I love, and I've been up for 3 days straight. Am
I still there?
On the program?
I've just been told that I've been signed out, but it appears I'm still there.
No, you're here. Wow, you're here. This is all happening.
Crazy.
Kevin, Sarah Stewart in the chat wants to know, have you ever heard a kink that doesn't have a name, or only one person you know who is into it?
The kink that shall not be named.
Yeah. Well, I met a guy who said that he had a thing, and I mean, most kinks fall under an umbrella, like they belong in you could put it in a category of kinks. And I met a guy who searched out men's bathrooms, public men's bathrooms, where they didn't have stalls on the doors. And ideally it would be where there were a line of toilets on one side and a line of toilets, so that he could sit in a stall without a door and watch another guy across the way taking a shit. And that was it. That was, he just wanted to be like in public watching another man take a shit.
This guy would have loved my grade school.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Like the only places I could think of that might have, like, old, like, arcane, like, maybe not have stalls on the doors, might be old, like, Catholic high schools or something.
I'm glad to hear you both say that, because I went to Queens public school and we never had doors on the stalls. That was just, it didn't exist. Like, I grew up thinking that public bathrooms do not have doors.
But the weird thing, the thing about doing that is, if you're not going to put doors on the stalls, why have stalls at all?
Yeah,
because they were built with doors. You need ripped them off.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Yes. I guess you need walls to hold the toilet paper roll. Still,
I got Jimmy's here.
Oh, what could possibly go wrong? Jimmy,
you there?
Yeah. Hey, Des. How are you?
Jimmy, the pride of Kearney, joining.
Hey, Dave. How are you?
Really great.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Jimmy. How are you?
Hey, Kevin. How are you, man?
Howdy.
I like how Jimmy takes one by one, takes his time. Everybody gets an individual welcome.
I know. I was just thinking, I was like, a lesser man might come on and say, hey, everybody, how's it going? But he takes the time, and we appreciate it. Jimmy, do we lose you?
Yeah. No, I'm here. I'm listening to you.
It's Dave.
And everyone else. So how's it going, man?
Oh, great. We covered this. We did this part already. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm, a little disturbed at some of the things going on but so I'm sure a lot of other people are.
What could you possibly be referring to?
I don't know. I don't want to turn this into a, let's just say it's a type of thing that's been going on for quite some time.
Yeah.
You're referring to the attempted coup this past Wednesday?
Yeah.
Well, I think,
it ties into your Twitter ban because, this douchebag was going along with impunity, inciting violence in other instances. And he got numerous passes. And, you got kicked out for engaging with his cretinous mob. And, what are you going to do?
Well, my hope is that maybe Donald Trump will realize the freedom that now he's free. He's not on social media. Maybe he'll
be so fucking bored.
Yeah, maybe
these past few days.
I know it's true. It is amazing. He's probably just like, oh.
Maybe he can take an art history course. Maybe he can do some, read the classics that he's never done.
Well, did you see that at one point, like when he was first banned, he wrote out tweets, and they were typical him tweet-sized tweets, and gave them to one of his press people to release to the press. So instead of just like getting on TV or like, making a speech or something, no, we got to get these, here's the little tidbit with the, full caps, yada, yada nonsense to give you his little haikus.
So does he write He like physically writes the tweets, hands them to someone, and then they tweet it.
No, what they sent them out to the news?
Yeah. Then so they did get out there, but it was just so funny to be reading. It was like it was a White House press release, but instead of being a regular press release, it was just like 5 tweets.
That's so ridiculous.
In a bizarre, weird place.
Jimmy,
Yeah.
How have you?
I have a kink related real quick thing, or if you want me to.
You don't have to make it quick, Jimmy. If we're getting a Jimmy from Carney kink, let it breathe. I think I speak for
kink. It's
the world.
It's kind of a situation that came up. I'm not into cock and ball torture at all. Otherwise known as CBT.
Yep.
Yeah, the guy who's not
to be confused with cognitive behavioral therapy.
Exactly.
That happens all the time.
You got me. That's what my thing was about. I knew a little bit about.
Wait, can I, Jimmy, very quickly? May I, if I can interrupt you, for a guy who's absolutely not into cock and ball torture, why are you so familiar with the abbreviation?
Because it was.
One might argue you'd be the last guy that would know the abbreviation to that.
You see it when you're perusing certain sites.
Oh, okay.
You see the thumbnails that show that this is going to involve this, and
You're searching for nipple torture.
No matter how attractive the woman
engaging
in this behavior is, I don't want to see it happen. It just reminds me of all the problems that I have even without, someone stuffing a pipe in my junk. But, I went to this psychiatrist. My psychiatrist was female, and she said, I didn't know that much about cognitive behavioral therapy of several years ago, like a decade ago or more. And I certainly didn't know CBT was used for that. So she goes, I was depressed as usual, and I was going through and anxious, and, I was having, a lot of issues that have, and she goes, maybe we should try some CBT on you. And I looked at her and she's kind of attractive, but I looked at her and said, oh my God, this is bizarre. This would be unethical. Then she finally came out with, cognitive behavioral therapy helps, many, many people who have, anxiety and depression. And I was like, oh, that sounds more psychiatric, than, because some guys do have like a projection thing or a transference thing where you get attracted to the therapist and you got to be careful. I thought of her as attractive, but I never would have broken that wall there because it would damage the therapeutic relationship. But my mind went really wild. I'm thinking maybe sounding could be like if you don't go too deep. I started saying maybe I could work this out, and then it all came crashing down. But it also was I was very relieved at the same time because I really don't want to. I have enough problems with the prostate, the urethra, everything going down there. I don't need a knitting needle in there. I don't need, something in the anal cavity that's going to, mess with my prostate. I just got to keep it more light D&D or something. But I haven't done that in a long time either. I haven't been with an escort even before COVID because of financial problems and stuff. So, but
well, I have a little surprise for you.
Problems,
when this is over.
So, yeah.
If I can speak for Chris and Des, and whatever Kevin wants to throw in, we are going to get you CBT.
No,
from it.
no.
No, our treat.
Take off here.
What's that?
No. The cognitive behavioral therapy I would accept from you guys, but I don't want anything tied. I don't want my balls tied up in, you know.
Oh, everyone says that going in.
I don't know, man. I got enough problems.
Kevin, can I just your opinion? Because I'm by no means an expert, but listening to Jimmy speak, do you think he doth protest too much? Like he seems a bit knowledgeable.
Yeah, you might not want to knock it till you try it.
No, listen, when I hear about people talking about getting scoped, I literally feel that, and I have to act out. Like if a guy goes to a urologist and gets the scope thing done, I am like banging on the kitchen table or wherever I am when I'm hearing the story. I'm acting out. I'm holding on to my nuts and my junk. It's just too sensitive to do some of those things to it.
Wait, I have questions. Wouldn't nuts be part of the junk, the collective? Wouldn't you guys agree?
I know. I grab my cock and balls in a protective manner.
You go for the
even
nuts.
though
You're
there's
taking everything in, yeah.
But isn't cock and balls is collectively the junk?
Yeah.
It's like an instinctive thing. It's like, you know, and then I just kind of slap on my knee, and then the guy will be saying, yeah, and then, you know, afterwards they scope me, and then...
what is scoping?
You know,
it's, you know, putting a camera down your
kind of like an endoscopic
Oh, wow.
throat, but it's very, very thin, and it does the same function. It takes pictures.
It's
and
for medical reasons.
Oh, okay, but it's different from sounding.
Urology. I did mention urology.
But it probably feels the same.
So even in this medical protective setting, I just freak when I hear about these procedures. So I don't want them, you know, I don't want them done even by, you know, an attractive woman. I just don't want them done. I just, you know, there's other things out there. You know, I'm not. If it turns you on,
What does that? What does that mean?
I'm not.
What does that mean? There are other things out there. What are you referring to?
There's other things. There's, you know, you could. Again, I also don't like getting. I wouldn't want to get kicked in the balls severe. I wouldn't want to get kicked in the balls at all. I can get pain in my balls just by going in to get change a little too hard in my pocket. And then I get that pain going up in my lower abdomen. I don't want a woman to like take a, you know, any kind of swing at my nuts with any kind of shoe, high heel, or foot. Because I know I'm going to be laying on the ground with pain gradually crawling up my abdomen, like when I was in grammar school and got hit with a soccer ball.
So here it is.
And I
That's
don't want that.
But now, you say the thing about getting chain, hurting yourself by when you're reaching for change, as if like that's like a 50-50 chance.
No, once it happened, and it like I saw stars, so it can happen.
How badly did you need this change that you injured you hurt your balls?
And I was at a parkway hole, and it was all changed. I had to grab, you know, people are beeping the horn. I grab in, and I'm like, oh! I caught, you know, my fingertips on the left side of the nut, really like just enough to be You know,
There is a lot of pressure when people start honking, though. I get it.
I'm definitely not going to be, good in that play environment. I've even had to tell like women go easy on the boys, like when they're, when they're doing normal kind of things.
Go easy. Don't. Oh God.
Oh man.
So
did you tell them about the change incident also?
No, not at the. No, I didn't have to get that detailed. I just
you wouldn't want to do role play of reaching for change.
Can you? Hey, do me a favor. Act like you need quarters really badly. Act like you need quarters immediately. Oh my God. Well, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm concerned.
Paints a picture.
And yet I applaud you.
Yeah.
Jimmy, whenever you call, something that always comes to mind, no matter what you're talking about, is anyone that's ever heard you on the show is well aware you have the voice of an angel, and it seems like a shame.
You're kind.
As long as we have you on the line, is there any chance we could get you to sing just even a few bars of something?
Yeah. Let me try something that's kind of optimistic, and it also has a tie-in to kink in a way.
Oh.
In a non-sexual way. Okay. I'm going to put the phone out. Here's wishing you the bluest sky and hoping something better comes tomorrow. Hoping all the verses rhyme and the very best of choruses too. Out of all the doubt and sadness.
Oh, do we lose him? What happened?
I went to turn it up. Put a little.
Oh, Jimmy, the Kinks. I have to say, Jimmy has sung. Jimmy, apologize. Tech is always having problems here. That maybe is my favorite snippet that Jimmy's ever sung on the program.
Yeah.
Kinks.
Jimmy he outdid himself tonight.
That's a classic.
All-time Jimmy call.
That seems like a specific kink. Would you say, Kevin Allison? The rushing for change. And,
oh yeah. I think there's something in it. I actually am a huge fan of being slapped in the balls.
Really?
Which I didn't know at all until a couple of years ago.
How'd you figure that out?
Gosh, how did I figure? I think that I think it was actually a dominatrix doing it to me at a camp one time. Like oh, this is cute. I'll play along. Be with a lady, and then it was like, oh shit.
Now you've talked about this on Risk, right? The
Kevin Goes to Kink Camp. There's a. That's another incident, but yeah, that was my first time, like at the age of 41, doing anything with women, or even when I was a kid, I didn't do stuff with girls,
And so she's the one that turned you on to.
Yeah, although I also had a very, very strange experience at that kink camp, and I think that this is in Kevin Goes to Kink Camp, where I agreed to get up on a spanking bench and let an older woman spank me, like pull down my pants and get spanked. And she might have had a paddle, and it like really triggered memories of my mom spanking me when I was a kid.
Wow.
It was very unnerving. I like being spanked in general, I mean by guys, but something about being spanked by an older lady with a paddle and bent over a bench was just like, oh, wait a minute. The memories here are not fond ones.
So
Is there any role playing involved when something like that happens, or is it just like they just
That incident was literally a play with the pros. Sign up for 15 minutes to do something with one of the teachers at the camp. Just one thing that they're particularly good at, you know. So no role playing. Just let me see how this feels.
So when you were done, were you shaken by it? Like
yeah,
sort of...
I might have even like safe worded, you know, to like, you know, maybe let's not go the full 15 minutes here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, would you say in the sort of world of kink, is everything as long as like not dangerous to the people involved? Is it sort of like everything is, there's no judgments on the thing, or are there things where people will walk away and be like, that guy's into this, that's crazy, or is it just a full no judgment?
Oh, well, no. People really struggle with that. They call that kink shaming. And, you know, there are some kinks that might be very popular, like scat play, for example, that, you know, really gross people out for, you know, whatever, legitimate or just natural reasons. But as long as, you know, you can establish, oh, no one's actually infringing on anyone else's rights or whatever, and you're consensual adults. I mean, you know, you will see people on kink apps sometimes list their hard limits, and they'll list no animals or children, and it's like,
well, yes, like, if you have to mention that,
that's not exact. But you know, I mean, I guess, you know, you will maybe sometimes run into people who are, you know, not trustworthy. I will say that there are a lot of people on these kink apps. You really have to be mindful of who is educated here and who is just pretending and who is gonna maybe try to get away with some weirdness, you know. Yeah.
What is it? Would it be an inappropriate question to ask, hypothetically? What is the strangest kink you've heard of, or is that a form of kink shaming?
All relative, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one that like took me aback the most was what I was talking about before. My friend who likes to put biting insects on his balls, just because that was like, I mean, I as someone who, for example, really loves to be slapped in the balls, I love like stingy pain in general.
Can I, if I may interrupt, do you like getting slapped in the balls? Because as anyone who has balls can tell you, well, you know, sometimes getting just lightly tapped is much worse than getting fully wound up on.
Yeah, well, you know,
if history has taught me anything,
I think it was Oscar Wilde was trying to describe the philosophy of the Marquis de Sade. I think Oscar Wilde was invited to a party and people were like, what does the Marquis de Sade, what's his philosophy? And Wilde said, oh, it's like if you stub your toe getting into the bathtub, that's bound to be an unpleasant experience. But then if you think, let me keep deliberately stubbing my toe, then it becomes something totally different. So for example, like the whole being slapped in the balls thing with me, it's got to be someone who understands, oh no, this is percussion. Like you need a rhythm and you need like, you know, so yeah, it's the accumulated like intensifying pain of something that's continuing rather than, you know, like I went to New York Bondage Club once. And I agreed to be tied up and paddled by a guy that I wasn't into, who looked like Charles Manson. It was just one of those. I've often done things in the kink realm where I'm like, well, I probably shouldn't be doing this. But anyway, he was going to paddle me, and I was like, okay. And his first thwack was just like you know, a huge thwack. And I should have just ended things right there, because that is just not how I would ever do things or have things done. You know, if it's going to be impact play, it should be warming up, you know. But I heard of someone, a friend of mine was like, did impact play, like spanking and paddling and all that for like 2 hours, and had a completely, and it was really like percussion, you know, and had like an out of body sort of almost, you know, like almost like a psychedelic experience from it.
Whoa. And then did it keep going after the throttling? Did that feeling sustain afterwards?
Probably. You know, after you've been beaten that much, it's very, very important that you're with someone who is really good at what they call aftercare, which is, you know, the dom has to know how to take care of you afterwards. And the taking care can take a long time, like, you know, hugging someone, getting someone water, getting them a comfortable blanket, making, you know, talking to them, processing it and all. Because I agreed to tickle torture once. I don't know if I've ever told you this story.
I don't think so.
Beautiful black guy in Williamsburg who looked, well, he was an Alvin Ailey dancer. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh my God, he's an Alvin Ailey dancer. I've got to do this. And he wanted to tickle torture me, and I had never done that before. And I was thinking, because tickle sounds cute, you know, I was thinking, oh, this will be funny, giggling and feathers and stuff like that. No, this was like Guantanamo fucking Bay. You know, I was strapped to the bed, and I kept breaking the straps because my body was just like, I cannot take this, and I kept breaking out. But anyway, he was doing things like taking his hand and like digging into muscles like this, and like taking hairbrushes and rubbing them on my feet and all this. Like, it was just like, it was truly torturous. And I was, you know, there was a lot of yelling of safe words and shit like that.
And would he listen when you did that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was crazy. And then when we were done, he just like sent me off onto the streets of New York City. And I was like, I was kind of fascinated, because not only was I shell-shocked that day, I was still walking around feeling shell-shocked the next day. The next day, I was still like in my body, kind of like, you know, and it's, so that's a good example of someone doing something that, you know, might be, I mean, obviously it was very much his thing. He was very like into that bizarre, like torturous, tickly thing. I mean, not tickly, but did not know how to take care of a person afterwards.
What would you do? Don't you just kind of hang out with them and
yeah, kind of like the best sort of aftercare is kind of like cuddling, you know? Yeah.
Wow. That's intense.
Have you seen that documentary on HBO about tickle torture?
Yes, and in fact, that was made, one of the producers for that told a story on Risk. And he's the one who called my attention to it. He's like, oh, you got to see the documentary I made. Yeah, that's a fascinating documentary about this very mysterious, shady character who was disguising his identity and setting up all these tickle torture videos among young jock-like college age boys or whatever, or high school college age boys. And yeah, it's a big mystery. Like the documentary makers are trying to track down, wait, who is, because it's the person who owns the company, it's the name of a woman, right? So like when they finally figure out this woman doesn't even exist, it's very, very intriguing.
Yeah. It's called Tickled. It's called Tickled. I'm sure it's, I mean, I watched it a few years ago, but I'm sure it's on HBO Max if you have it.
Yeah, it's very intriguing.
It is really, I never knew that was a thing until I watched that.
Everything is a thing. Everything
Yes.
can be a thing.
I have a friend who was a dominatrix, and my favorite, she told me about this guy who would dress up in a geisha outfit and put eggs in a condom and put the eggs up his butt and then lay the eggs.
What kind of eggs are these? Are these hard-boiled eggs?
As I recall, they were hard-boiled eggs.
Mm-hmm.
But it just seemed like a lot going on. Plus, like, the guy, she said the guy was Chinese, but he was dressed as a geisha.
Right.
Already getting complicated right out of the gate.
He might have seen the movie In the Realm of the Senses. Have you ever seen In the Realm of the Senses?
No, is that in that movie?
Yeah. It's famous. You know, Woody Allen joked that the price of eggs has gone up in New York because it was so popular in 1975. It's a movie about. It was banned in Japan. It's a Japanese story, and it's a true story. Two people. I think it was leading up to World War II, but maybe it was leading up to World War I. Anyway, two people who decided our country is becoming like fascist and everything. Like, we don't want to participate in this war. Why don't we just go off to a cabin and become kinkier and kinkier and kinkier and kind of just like allow ourselves to, like, you know, become addicts of having sex. And anyway, at one point, and so the movie is famous. It had to be produced in France because
what is the movie called again?
In the Realm of the Senses.
Okay.
It's great. It's a beautiful masterpiece of a movie. But the two main actors, the man and the woman, are like nude and having some sort of sex almost throughout the entire movie. And at one point, there's a famous scene where he starts using her vulva as like what he'll dip with his chopsticks, his food in, and then eat. And then finally he has her lay an egg. And that scene was very talked about when the movie played.
Oh, yeah. So it had been inspired by that.
Yeah.
Now I'm not as impressed by this story that I heard.
Sounds like we got our next watch party maybe lined up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. The other one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
The other there was one, my favorite. She would tell me all these different ones. There was a guy that she would just sit down and make him do a book report and yell at him. And I'm like, and what else? She's like, that's it. I'm like, what? And she's like, I would just be mad at him and he would have to do a book report like after school. And that was the whole thing.
Yeah. I don't know if you, what's his name? I forget his name, but there's a documentary maker who made a podcast about how the internet has changed the porn industry. And one of it was these, self-bespoke porn videos that now, if you go to OnlyFans or whatever, you can ask a porn star to make a video just for you of them doing something very specific. And he was interviewing this dominatrix who the client was a man who had been collecting precious stamps his entire life. And he had a stamp collection that was just worth a fortune. And what he loved to do was send her books of precious, priceless stamps and watch her burn them and laugh, that I'm burning your stamps. That's it. Like, she didn't have to take her clothes off or anything. Just destroy his stamps.
And she would make videos of that?
Yeah, and make a lot of money.
But did she ever get wise and then just be like, wait a minute.
I should really like it. Yeah, fake. Maybe she did. She probably should have faked the book.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh man, yeah. I love that one.
We had a story on Risk about from a dominatrix where a fella comes to her. She was working at one of those professional, whatever they call the boudoirs or whatever, with a bunch of dominatrixes. where you have to sign up for a meeting and everything. And a guy comes in and he's just got like bags of cashmere sweaters, and he wants to have every part of his body just covered in layers of cashmere sweaters, so that he's like a big bulb of cashmere. And he wants her that way too. And then he wants her to get on top of him and just kind of rub bodies together, and that's how he gets off. And it's just very funny because like she's like, yeah, there were many inches of cashmere between our bodies.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That's pretty amazing. There was another one she told me was a guy she would throw animal crackers in the toilet and yell at him, and he would have to fish them out and eat them. No sex, just that.
These all sound like something that would have happened as a child, like recreating. I don't have anything necessarily from my childhood that I feel compelled to draw out and do that way.
Right. Yeah. You know, that just made me think, I wonder if some people have like wash your mouth out with soap kind of, you know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any sort of punishment. It is really interesting how, like, I am not someone who is very interested in sadism or degradation or humiliation, you know, that's another thing. You can lay on the attitude onto like almost any activity. You know, you can do something in a degrading and humiliating way, or in a sensual, we're both loving this kind of way, or in a dominant way, or in a submissive way, or whatever it might be. You know, some people have in their minds, oh, this particular sex act can only be done in a submissive way, but not really. You can switch up the energy for any of these things. So yeah, sometimes a guy will express interest in doing something with me and assume that I want him to call me names and treat me like I'm worthless and yada yada. And I'm like, oh no. For me, this is fun. I don't want to be insulted.
Now, do you still then just have normal non-kink, like just sex then? Or is it usually
you know,
in
it's
conjunction?
Funny. It took me a while to kind of put all this together, but like, I've never been big on anal sex, which, you know, most gay men consider like the end all be all, you know, like the biggest kind of sex to have, you know, just like I guess a lot of straight men would consider fucking to be the ultimate sex act. But no, I've never been very much into anal sex. And I think the reason is I arrived in New York City in 1988 when I was 18 years old. So I was extremely horny and very ready to go to the sex clubs and everything. And I was out like crazy having sex everywhere, but was very, very, very afraid of AIDS. And so just wanted to avoid doing any penis into butt stuff.
Yeah.
And so just kind of got used to not doing that. And I you know, now that there's Truvada around, that, you know, this, I have a prescription for it, and I'm considering, you know, maybe in my 50s, I could get into that. But I'm just like,
Wait, what is Truvada?
What?
What is Truvada?
Truvada is a pill that you can take every day that blocks off your chances of getting HIV. It's called PrEP, and then there's PEP, which is Truvada times 10, where if you think you've been exposed, you take
sort of
PEP, which like
the plan
might be able
B.
to knock it out before it really takes hold.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so most gay men now take Truvada every day, and it has really affected things because it's made gay men in their 20s like just have no concept of, oh, we should be careful about all the other STDs. So gonorrhea, herpes, whatever else have all skyrocketed since PrEP came around, because no one's using any sort of protection or thinking carefully about anything anymore. So, yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You've been in Ohio too long, Dave.
I know. I know. I've just been living out in the sticks. I don't know. How did I miss this? You guys knew this? I'm not keeping up.
I wonder if when we brought this up last week with Shayna, how much the fear of pink sock might be.
Pink sock?
Yeah.
How have we managed to bring up pink socks so much on this?
Because Kevin was talking about anal, and I would imagine that's like got to be a fear.
What is pink sock?
It's when
thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
It's a prolapsed rectum.
Kevin Allison.
I can't believe Kevin doesn't know that.
Oh.
Kevin Allison did not know what pink sock was.
No, I did not. I didn't know. I've never heard of it referred to that way. Here's another thing. Just today, I read someone on a gay site talk about head job. Have you ever heard a blowjob referred to as a head job?
No, it sounds like what someone who's never had a blowjob but wants to sound like he's gotten a blowjob.
In an article in a magazine.
Yeah, it was with this girl, and she gave me one of those head jobs. After that, we wrist fucked. What's that? You know, when she's pumping her wrist on your penis.
Yeah, the prolapse thing is like very much like not my because my super very favorite part of the body is the anus, and that is the opposite of, I like, tight and, all that sort of thing. So that's kind of like the opposite of what I'm looking for. And so I've never really learned a ton about it, but
wait, there's people that seek out the prolapse?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. There are people who, people who get into fisting especially start to be into that itself, be disappointed if someone's anus is kind of more intact, and
but at the start or at the end?
Well, there's for example, I was with someone once who who had done a ton, who had been fisted quite a lot, and it's not like his anus was, the horror stories you might see on what's his name, Goatsy, that sort of thing. But
no, what's Goatsy? I'm learning so much on this episode.
Oh, so Goatsy is a guy who had a lot of videos on, I think mostly XTube, and who was really, really big on showing off his interiors. And he became like an internet meme, someone with a very, very, who, had clearly put everything in the world as big as it could be up his ass, and had just a gigantic, yeah.
How do you go about your day? Can you run errands? Nothing.
I actually don't know the answer to that question. I mean, I think that I think that for the vast majority of people who do fisting, they still retain, plenty of elasticity for closing up. You know what I mean? For the vast majority. But for someone like Goatsy, where it's so extreme, I would have to imagine that you would need to wear a diaper during the ordinary day.
Yeah.
Depends.
This is... Oh boy! Someone beat you to it in the chat there, saying depends.
Oh,
were you reading that, Chris?
No, I wasn't reading it. That used to be my act.
Elvira Canaveral, not surprisingly, beat you to it. Man, oh man. Goatsy. There's one more thing I'm gonna have to Google later tonight.
if
Is
you
that
like.
now? Did he get that name from Banksy? Was that like a response to
I
Banksy?
don't know. I don't know where he got that name. You know, that was around the time that like Two Girls, One Cup was also a big viral sensation.
A simpler time. Now, with the Two Girls, One Cup thing, there was some speculation that was like faked in some way.
Yeah, there's also a fascinating story behind that, in that like that's a very fascinating story about censorship and laws around stuff, because I think that video was made in South America, and the video itself was just a trailer for a longer scat video for people. So it was like advertising that. Yeah, there was speculation that it was faked, which is kind of strange because there's like tons and tons and tons and tons of scat porn out there in the world that are not faked. So, you know, I maybe, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, but it's an interesting story about how it would cross from one country to another, and how there were sometimes shutdowns, and how the guy who made it, the filmmaker who made it, had to keep running from the law in different countries, you know. It's really interesting how, like, over the years, some of these kink sites, you know, a credit card company will be like, well, if people are doing this sort of kink, we're not going to want to have anything to do with your site. So, you know, like FetLife would have stuff like that they would, you know, be like, you know, we're all inclusive and everything, but, you know, please don't mention these words or these kinks. And it was very weird for a while. Now it seems to be opening up again, maybe to the extent that people feel the need to say no animals or children.
No animals, children, or guys rifling through their pockets for quarters.
My hard limit is rifling through.
Those are the big three.
Kevin,
big three.
Matt Arnold wants to know if you wrote the Deaf Dominatrix sketch on The State. Was that your handiwork?
No, wait. What was that? How did they describe that?
Deaf Dominatrix? I don't remember that one.
I don't either. There was the one with Tom Lennon as Old Lighthouse Jeffers, who is an old Maine fisherman who lives at a lighthouse, and in a lighthouse, and a bunch of young kids end up stranded, and they're like very happy that they found this old man, New Englander, who lets them in to stay the night, but all he can talk about is BDSM. It makes them very uncomfortable. Old Lighthouse Jeffers.
Oh yes. What I'm just looking at the chat here.
Is The State? I thought I saw, because I know San Fran Sketchfest is doing like a big live stream thing. The State was on there. What are you guys doing for that?
The State is on there. We're going to do a sketch with a bunch of guests, with a bunch of you know, friends of the State jumping in by surprise. So it's very fun, and David Wayne is editing the whole thing together. He's gotten really good at that, at putting together these big things where everyone's filming themselves in their apartments and cutting it all together. But I guess Kids in the Hall might be too, like or the Mr. Show. You know, I think that there's a lot going on there at that. Is it just one night of programming?
I think they're having like one night of like a ton of like it's just like a marathon of shows. But then I think they're also doing other random, you know, one-off events.
Yeah,
because Sketchfest would be going on, you know, next week.
Oh yeah,
right now. Yeah.
I'm participating on it. My name is next to John Hamm on the poster. I just want to be clear to point that out.
I always loved going to San Francisco Sketch Fest.
Oh, me too. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
Next year.
Mm-hmm.
2020. What year is it now? 2022. We'll do it. Yeah, it's a bummer. This damn pandemic. Oh boy. Well, here we are at the very end. So we got to tell people this Friday.
This Friday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern is the Risk live stream. And if you go to...
There it is.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, just go to risk-show.com/tour for the tickets.
Excellent. So everyone, you've got your orders. That's a great shirt you're wearing in the flyer, by the way.
Yeah, it's a Trina
Kevin.
Turk shirt.
Gorgeous. Well, Kevin, thank you so much. I've learned quite a bit tonight.
I'm going to have to try roughly scrounging for change just to see what happens, you know? I gotta try anything twice.
If you need a prompt, Kevin, I need 75 cents immediately. Children will die if you don't give me 75 cents now. Oh boy. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Kevin Allison, and everybody. Be sure to catch the Risk Show this Friday. Thank you, boy criminal Chris Kurzbeck, New Jersey Chicken Rancher Des, and Jimmy. Be careful out there. That's all I can say. Let's bring the action music up.